What is going on, guys? We're taking a look at the Ummu Dalawa 2 designed by Aleksey Konygin. I had to say that all up front because I knew if I didn't immediately say that, I was going to forget some of those words. We're going to call this the Ummu 2 from now on, and we're going to refer to the maker as Aleksey because those are the two words that I say the most appropriately out of all the names of this particular knife. Why are we looking at this knife? Because it is one of my favorite purchases that I have made in recent history. And that is pretty rare for a knife to come out, which is kind of sad, right? It's kind of sad. It's pretty rare for me to have a knife that comes out where I do like an unboxing and I love it, and then I still really, really love it a month later or however long it's been since I've had this particular knife. I like this one. This one is staying in my collection for, I don't want to say forever, but geez, I really, really like this one. And I'm going to dive into it here in a minute. So this is made by Custom Knife Factory, which used to be a Russian company that had knives made in China. And now it's not in Russia anymore. And they still have knives made in China. I don't know. It's a whole thing. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about, the politics of this particular knife. We're just going to be talking about this knife. I will touch on the price point of this, which comes in at, I think $490 was the price of this knife. Do I think that's a fair price for this? Yes, I think so. I think it is. With all things considered, inflation, quality, material, all of those things, I think that is a good price for this knife. I do have to say that because Custom Knife Factory uses different OEMs. And so not all CKF knives are equal in terms of quality. This is one of the really high quality ones. And Aleksey is a designer that is very closely associated with CKF. He is the one behind all the crazy knives too, like the Tractor and the Decepticon and some of the wild ones. And you see some of that design language here. It's just toned down to a level that's more reasonable for an actual usable knife. But before we get into that, let's do some size stuff. Let's do actual measurements. You never know what you're going to get on this channel. Sometimes I'm scientific and I measure things, and sometimes I compare them to like soda cans. 4-inch blade overall. 4-inch blade overall. 4-inch blade overall length is just under 9 inches. So very large knife. Large knife indeed. Let's get a weight on here. What am I? I'm going to say 5.5. Whoa! Look at that. I did not look that up. That was a total guess based on my expertise of folding knives. 5.5 ounces. So no slouch, but in my opinion, not overly heavy. Here it is compared to a Scapegoat from Chavez Knives. Scapegoat from Chavez Knives. Let's do a Paramilitary 2, which is my favorite comparison to do. You can see there, it's larger. Let's compare the thickness of the handles. Now, it's actually thinner. So that is one of the coolest things about this knife, in my opinion, is that it is not overly thick. It is not a big, crazy bruiser of a knife. It's actually quite elegant. Here it is compared to Primo, right there, Kunwu Primo. Let's be honest, oftentimes I just do these comparisons to show off other cool knives that I have handy. Here it is compared to a Commander. So it is larger than a Commander. Handle is very, very close, but the blade is a little bit longer. Very good blade to handle ratio on this bad boy here. Let's see, do we have a visible? They did a really good job. You can see how the lock face is completely protected. They've got this pivot up nice and high to give you that excellent handle to blade ratio. They've also got this blade stuffed all the way down. And they can do that because they have this little backspacer section that protects that tip. So you don't have to worry about like catching your finger in there. Just done very, very well. And then you really don't see that detent track. You can barely see the hole peek out right there. Just ever so slightly. So done very, very well from a design standpoint on this particular knife. Blade steel on this, I believe, is M398. Yes, M398 Super Steel. This is number 193. You have satin flats and then blasted bevels. I just love this blade shape. I love how it's thinner here and then it kind of swells out. You get this awesome belly, this nice detailed tip here that you can do all kinds of different work with. Now, it's not really angled well for fine tip cutting, but that's just the nature of this style of blade. I love this hump that comes up on the top here with this swedge. Just a beautiful, beautiful blade with basically zero billboarding on this thing. I mean, you have no branding, you have no CKF. There is nothing other than this milled logo right here to indicate what this is. It doesn't even say what knife it is, right? It doesn't say Ummu, just has the blade steel and the serial number there, which is really, really cool. So what did they upgrade from the original version, the original Ummu, because this is the Ummu 2. It's quite similar, which is cool, right? It's the same type gist, just some tweaks to the design. There's a different milling pattern here, which, by the way, I really love. It is functional. It does give you some grip, and it looks really, really cool. They also just tweaked up some of this chamfering. They made it more dynamic, right? You've got thick chamfering here. You've got thinner chamfering all around here. They also kind of accentuated the blade shape on this one. Like I mentioned before, how it swells out. They did that a little bit more. They put in some ZircuTi around the pivot collars, around the pivots. You can see how everything mirrors. Aleksey loves to do mirrored stuff. You've got this pin right here, which is a functional pin. I mean, these are the two things that hold this knife together. And then they both have the ZircuTi collars around them on both sides. Really, really cool. The original Ummu had a ZircuTi or Mokuti pocket clip. I actually prefer this because if you're going to carry and use this knife, which I would recommend that you do, the pocket clip takes the brunt of most casual marks and things, and I never like the idea of the Mokuti clip, and it also draws a lot of attention to your knife. So if I'm going to add a little bling to my knife, I would rather do it this way, where it's hidden unless I want people to see it, and it's more protected against just normal carrying around. So I really like that move. You've got a lot of cool things going on with these two pins right here, and then you've got a two-piece backspacer completely separate. You've got another standoff right there. Now, I will say, before I forget, I've taken this knife apart, and it's kind of deceiving. It is a little bit of a pain because you do have, I will knock it on that, you do have a lot of parts. You take this apart, these fall out, your collars fall out, you get them mixed up because they're not the exact same, right? Each one specifically fits. This is not a symmetrical milled out pattern. As symmetrical as this seems, these are completely different. So this one only fits here, this one only fits here. And then these pins can fall out and this can fall out. Like there's a lot of parts on this knife. Now it does look cool and they serve a function. These pins hold everything stable. But if you take this apart, it does somewhat fall apart on you, which, just something to be aware of. The action on this thing is amazing. The detent is absolutely amazing. It's running on multi-row bearings like you would typically see with CKF. You have an inset titanium sub lock going on with a steel insert in it as well, which is interesting. The benefit to doing this over a traditional frame lock, which a traditional frame lock would be so much easier, right? You're just gonna cut into the same piece as opposed to creating a whole nother piece that then has to fit into the titanium frame here, the titanium handle, and then be affixed in here with steel inserts in there. But the benefit of doing it this way is it's a lot easier to actuate without putting pressure on that lock bar. I have that problem a lot. I've got really long fingers. What is that? Do I got blood on my finger? I must have cut myself somewhere. I've done a few videos. I must have nicked something and got a little blood there. My bad. Didn't mean to show you that. I have that problem a lot because I have long fingers. And so like even large knives, it just like smothers the lock side. And if it has a really crisp detent like my Sharp by Design knife, which, man, I caused some controversy on that. I did a short on that knife kind of as a joke saying, how not to open your derecho and basically trying to use the flipper. And I was unable to because I was pressing on that lock bar. And that caused a whole bunch of shenanigans. People got upset about that. But anyways, I tend to smother that lock bar with my fingers because I've got really long fingers and it just wraps around the whole knife. And it can be tricky for me to open them. So by Reducing the footprint of that lock bar gives me less to mess up with my hands and allows me to actuate that flipper better. So really appreciate that. Very thin design. It, as large as it is, it kind of disappears in your pocket. Very good clip retention on here. Goes in and out of the pocket very, very well. So overall, long story short, this one is just a win for me. Now, I really like it because behind the scenes, behind the milling and the surface stuff and the fancy materials, it is a very well thought out, carryable, usable knife with premium materials. But then it has just enough embellishment for me that I really enjoy the form factor. Like, it is just a sexy knife in my eyes, and it's one of those knives that I can kind of just look at over and over again and appreciate it. Now, for some people, it's too much, right? This is too much going on, too many designs, too much milling, too many materials, all that kind of stuff. I totally get that if that is not your jam. But if you are like me and you like things a little bit more visually enticing, I don't know. I just really like this one. This also comes in carbon fiber handles, which is obviously much lighter. That's not my thing. I'm not a big carbon fiber fan. I don't even like it in inlays, honestly. Carbon fiber, I don't know. I don't care for the material that much. I also don't like to have overly light knives. They just don't feel right to me. But I know some people do, so you can check out that version. I think it's shred carbon fiber, and it's really just the whole scales are the carbon fiber. And then I think they have the titanium insert still. That may have been part of the driver for this too, so they could have different handle materials. For me, titanium all the way. I think it looks absolutely cool, and it's a great choice for this particular knife. So comment down below, what do you think of the Ummu 2 coming in from CKF? One of my favorites in recent history of knives that have been released. Thanks everyone for watching. If you're still hanging on, comment, like, subscribe. I want to talk to you guys. Catch you later. I'm out.